The riches are in the niches is probably one of the biggest lies that people get told in business. And it's a common lie. I hear it repeated all the time that the best way to launch a business is to be hyper niche, be really focused on a particular individual. That individual needs to get on a train at 9 a.m. from Waterloo every morning wearing a green shirt, have 2 dogs, and live in a blue house, right? It's this unbelievably hyper-focused niche that is the idea that gets peddled. Now, you can probably tell I'm quite passionate about this particular lie, and I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time. Part of the reason I'm so passionate about this is that I hear this bad advice repeated constantly, and I see people buy into it. And the reason this is such a big mistake is that by being so focused on a particular niche, what you end up doing is actually excluding so many people that would have bought your product or your service. And I often see businesses that are really struggling for leads, or they're struggling with their marketing, but actually the bigger problem that they have is that they've gone too niche. And so they might have a lot of traffic and people coming to their website, people coming to see their offer, but they've excluded so many people. Now, there's a number of things I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to go on to speak about how you can still use a niche without being so hyper-focused, why really what you need to be thinking about are problems and avatars. So there's a lot to get through, but this really will be value-packed. Okay, so the first thing that's going to determine your success ultimately is whether or not you solve a problem for someone. Now, what you need to do is separate the problem from the person. So separate the problem from this niche that you've maybe constructed in your head. A good example of this is personal training. So you've probably seen a lot of personal trainers on Instagram, and they put themselves forward in a very focused way. So I actually saw this the other day, and this is largely what prompted this video, is there was a lady who was pitching herself as the fitness coach for lesbians. So not just women, not mums, not anything like that. It was lesbians, which is obviously a very, very small niche. And the fact that she is focused on this niche is excluding so many other people that her service would be perfect for. Despite her choices around sexuality and those of her clients, they are still women, and so the problems that they would be facing around weight loss, around fitness, would naturally be the same. So of course she could cater to a much larger demographic, and as such grow her business to be much larger. Now, this point around problems leads on to what you should do, which is you need to focus on an avatar. That is a particular type of person that you are speaking to. For example, for this channel, there are multiple avatars. So I don't make videos for one specific person, right? I'm not making videos to help John, who is 37 years old, who lives in London, and who runs a pet food business. My content is more broad because everyone has marketing problems. The way I think about this is I think about an avatar. So I think about John, right? And I think about the problems that he might have in his business. So John is a business owner, he's 37, and he's frustrated because he's either not getting enough traffic to his business, so he's not getting enough leads, or the leads he's getting aren't high quality, or they're not converting, or he's spending too much on marketing, or he doesn't know what tools are out there, and actually he could be spending less time on the marketing whilst getting more clients, less of his budget, and growing his business. So what I'm doing there is I'm thinking about the problems that John would have. And then I'm also thinking about potentially, let's call her Lucy. And Lucy runs a fitness business and she's focused on growing her Instagram, but it's not quite growing the way she wants. And how does she get people to convert to a sales call? And then from that sales call, how does she make sure they convert? And then what's the follow-up? And how can she automate that, right? So really what I'm doing here is thinking of different people and the problems that they have. So the videos that I create speak to those people. For example, with this very video, you might be having this problem, and you most likely are if you're watching it, where you've been given the advice that you need to be extremely niche. And what you're finding is that hasn't been the silver bullet that has grown your business. Now, a crucial piece of advice with all of this is, of course, we don't want to attract everyone and anyone. We do still need to be specific with who is coming to our website and who is buying our service. One of the ways to do this is to be polarizing in your opinions and be polarizing with your content. Now, As a caveat, I'll be honest with this, being polarizing is something that I have struggled with. It's not easy to really put a stamp and say, I help this person and I don't help these people. It works wonders if you can do it, and there are other examples of people that do this incredibly well. I will talk about one way I've used a polarizing opinion to grow my business. So the publishing company that I own sits in between two existing business models. So you have traditional publishers, which everybody is familiar with. You have hybrid publishers where they charge a fee and then they also take royalties and ownership of your work. We specifically went directly in the middle of these two models and said we are not a traditional publisher because we think traditional publishing is terrible. And of course, that's a polarizing opinion because it inevitably attracted some backlash from people who love that model. And then we applied the same to the hybrid publishing model, where we said that is a terrible model for these reasons, and here is our solution to your problem. Now, of course, for the customers that love either the traditional model or they love the hybrid model, our solution didn't apply to them. It didn't speak to them. It excluded them. And that was okay because those people were never going to use our service anyway. If someone was completely set on using traditional publishing, then they're not interested in a publishing services agency. So why would I create content that speaks to them? However, the people who don't like that model, who are fed up with that model, their views will align with mine. They will also see it in the same way and say traditional publishing is dead, traditional publishing doesn't work for most authors. So by us having that polarizing opinion, it of course speaks to the person I want to come and use my service. Ultimately, the person who is thinking about using this type of service anyway. What it does is it basically entrenches them and brings them on side. If you want to think of this in a more social environment, it would be that you're at a party and let's say there's lots of people there who like football and there's lots of people there who maybe like cricket and you're a tennis player, and you will naturally have more to talk about with the other tennis players in that party because you're not really that interested in football, you don't follow cricket, but tennis, you played it since you were very young, you were watching the match last night, right? You naturally will have something in common with them. So you'll push the other people away, most likely, and then focus more on that one person who has those same values as you do. Now, of course, that's not a perfect example. I don't not talk to someone just because they like football and they don't like tennis, but you get the idea of that naturally you're probably going to have more in common with certain types of people, and the same is true for your business. And now if I bring this full circle back to the original example I gave about the lesbian fitness coach, again for her is that she would be able to help mums, other women, be they professional women, be they stay-at-home mums. The point is that they're all women, right? They might be young women, old women, but they will all have similar problems. To give a practical marketing takeaway with all of this is that the best way to get more leads into your business is, of course, using a lead magnet, something that you can offer people, something of value, something that they can take away and they can use and say, wow, thank you so much for giving me that, Patrick. That's actually helped me to solve a problem that I'm having. And again, this is where when we think about avatars, we think about the problems that they're having, we can then create these lead magnets which pull them into the business. And the recurring theme as well through all of this is that this is all about your customer. People don't give a fuck about you or your business at all, right? And that's something that I think people struggle with, but we really have to get out of that mindset, is that everything you create within your business or the marketing materials, everything is about the customer. Would my customer like this? Would they get value from this? Ultimately, when it comes to solving problems for your avatar, that's going to start with content. And this is something where I held back for a long time because of the fear of judgment. I was worried about making these videos. What will people think? Will there be a backlash? And again, the same is true, that people are too busy and too focused on their own lives. The people that will actually care about the content you create and the things you put out there are the people whose problems you are solving. So to leave you with this final thought is don't fall into that trap of being too niche, of focusing too much on someone so specific that you're excluding all of these other people's, because it could be one of the biggest things that's holding your business back from growing. As always, YouTube will now be recommending another one of my value-packed videos right here. So go ahead and watch that one next and leave a comment down below with how niche you were before you watched this video and hopefully how you're going to change that.